If you could go back in time and you could either vote for Donald Trump or Kamala Harris, who would you vote for?
I'd have to say Donald Trump.
Okay, why so?
Well, I feel like Donald Trump has opened the door to a lot of unsolicited and sad views of American society, and I feel like that is exactly what we need to move forward. And I feel like we got to have these type of conversations. You got to see these type of people, so you know what type of evil is out there. But
So would you support for the position for president because it would show people hate?
um, Parker, I think it's a pretty extreme view.
Yeah,
See,
yeah,
see,
and so is Trump, right?
no, Trump
I'm
definitely he's definitely extreme. He's definitely
I'm
extreme.
not saying
But
Trump is. I'm saying that there's some standard or threshold that you apply, and that whenever there's an excessive degree of someone that is like so bad, you won't support them. And I would say
right,
that that's met with Donald Trump. He was held civilly liable for incited a violent insurrection at the Capitol. He's calling media organizations illegal. He called for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution.
right. Okay, so let's go back to the Kamala Harris thing, right? Because yes, Trump is a
Kamala.
convicted felon, but the sad reality is that we did elect him, so we
Sad?
do have
Wait,
to.
so if you think that's a sad reality, well, then you don't agree with Donald Trump.
I agree with some of the things that he says, but not
If
entirely
you if
everything.
you could go
He
back in
was
time
he
and
was a
you could
better
eat
candidate, better
than
than Kamala
Kamala,
Harris, of
okay, then
course,
why
of
so?
course. Okay, what policies did she speak upon?
No, can you tell me why he was a better candidate?
Well, I feel like he was more prepared for the job at that point in time.
Okay, why?
He actually had an entire campaign. Previously, he had a whole presidency. Kamala Harris, she
Kamala.
was. Well, I'm gonna say how I want to say it, but she was.
No,
She
you'll
was
respect
thrown
her, or
in.
I'll go on to the next person.
She was thrown in at the last minute. You know, so it's very hard to get a view on her views and her policies in that short amount of time, and a lot of Americans didn't feel comfortable with that.
Okay, and so why do you think that Donald Trump's policies are better?
Well, I feel like for the political climate right now of the world, it's needed, especially with the arrival of BRICS. The world power is definitely changing. America isn't as it's
What
not viewed
policies?
as well economics, like
What
economically
economic
speaking.
policies of Trump's do you support?
I support the tariffs, believe
What
it
is
or
it?
not.
What is a tariff?
A tariff is like a situation to where Americans can gain, basically.
No. What is a
Not not not
tariff?
not immediately, but in the long term,
What
it'll
is a
benefit our
tariff?
economy later on.
What is a tariff?
It's just a reform.
What type of reform? How does it operate?
It's a reform to benefit the American people.
And what is the reform?
Uh, Economically speaking, for economy.
Yeah.
So like, I don't understand how that hurts Americans.
No. What is a tariff?
As I told you, it's a reform.
It's a form. Really.
Hmm.
So a tariff is a tax on imported goods, and it's passed down to the consumer from the American importer that's buying the product from a country overseas. Okay.
Right. So tell me how that hurts like Americans in the long term. Because what I feel like
It
is
imposes
getting
higher
is
costs for consumers, which disproportionately negatively impact lower and middle income individuals because they spend a greater proportion of their income on consumer goods.
uh, which is very true. And a lot of previous American presidents have also enacted bills and things of that nature that hurt the economy probably at the current time. But like we have to give him his due diligence and this tariff bill his due diligence to see what it really does long term. It could turn out and I'll come back and I'll tell you like it
No, we
was
know economists have
horrendous.
indicated that it's already negatively impacting us right now, and that they were going to be harmful in the first place. So, like, I mean, economists have already indicated to you that they're going to be bad, and they're already having a negative impact right now.
Right. My cousin is a recent college graduate. He can't find a job. So like I know like the the economy right now is very sad.
Yeah, because
I'm
of
not
Trump.
gonna. Well, some of the things that Trump is trying to do. It's also Democrats on the other side that don't want to find any middle ground. So
Like who?
AOC.
AOC wants to find middle ground.
Okay.
She's actively talked about finding middle ground recently, if you've listened to her at all. And
I
she
have.
wants to find middle ground on, like, providing healthcare for people, and not like literally cutting people off of healthcare and like increasing their health insurance premiums.
Right. Some of the things that Trump has done. This it's not. I'm not saying he's a saint, but the tariffs. My whole thing about it. I believe that it's going to bring more American jobs back in the next couple of years because that tax to these foreign countries. They have two choices: either to go along with what we're doing, or they can ignore us, and then we look like dumbasses. But I feel like the American dollar is pretty powerful, so the majority of countries are going to end up having to
It will
conform.
make our dollar
Because,
less powerful. And then in terms of bringing back jobs, how's that doing? The jobs report was so bad that Trump fired the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics because they said that the information coming from the Bureau of Labor Statistics was politically biased
right.
information.
You said it was what you got cut off right there at
Yeah,
the end.
Trump fired the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics because he said that it was politically biased information. And then he hired someone new, and they indicated even less jobs for the next month.
Okay, how long has that person been in term though?
The new one,
Like how long? Yeah, how long has he been sitting, Parker?
since he got cut out, it was a few months ago when Trump cut them out.
Okay, so it's very hard to judge somebody on a couple months.
What? I mean, I'm
Okay,
just
so what policies? What
I'm
policies?
just saying
All
that
right. So
that's
what do you
no.
think he should have
I'm
done?
not judging the person who is the BLS person in office. I'm just saying that that indicates that it was like valid data from Trump's perspective.
Okay. Well, again, if we had to go back to Kamala Harris and
Kamala.
Donald Trump, Kamala. If we had to go back to her and him, I think we made the right choice.
Again, but you have no reason. You've provided no argument for it, and I've actually shown you how we're worse off now because of
I
Trump.
just I definitely did. I just told you that the other candidate, she wasn't qualified at the time.
Okay, why not?
Well, people from her party came out and said that they didn't prepare her
No,
correctly in time
no. How? What makes you think she wasn't qualified?
because she was thrown in there last second. Now, if she had
That doesn't
if she
mean
had
that
ran,
she isn't qualified. What are you talking about? Just because she's 107 days to run does not mean she was not qualified.
it definitely does.
So
Her agenda,
what are
her
Can you
agenda.
tell me what are qualifications to be president? Could you give me an example?
Yeah, I'd say having an agenda, an approved agenda, and um
Okay,
having
what was
methods.
Donald Trump's plan for healthcare?
It was a pretty plan, man.
It was concepts of a plan, so he didn't have a plan. So he used just random like phrases. He didn't actually have a plan for things. She had a plan. You could have read her plan.
Yeah, but I do think that her being elected as president would have incited more violence, too.
There's no evidence for that.
Yes, there is.
Actually, Trump has incited more violence because he literally
Of course he is.
pardoned
Of course he is.
Donald Trump pardoned violent rioters, police officers on January 6th. That's inciting violence. He called them
Okay.
patriots. That's inciting violence.
Okay. All right. Can you acknowledge this at least, right? That America has two sides right now. An extremist left and an extremist right.
There's a lot more complexity, but there are extremist right individuals and extremist left individuals, sure, but they aren't
All right.
comparable.
Um I'd have to disagree with that.
The right is responsible for significantly greater levels of domestic. People on the left literally want to provide adequate living standards for people. People on the right are incredibly hateful and bigoted. We're talking about the alt-right, right-wing extremists. They're
Of course.
literally bigoted. They don't believe in human rights for people, right?
Right.
just based upon like their skin color, based upon
Yep.
right their religion,
Yeah, I've
etc.
experienced.
Whereas like specifically
Yep.
people on the left literally just want to provide adequate conditions for people to live. Now, do I disagree with them on terms of like what is going to lead to the best set of conditions? Yeah, but they have good like intentions in most circumstances.
Yeah, but we were talking about the extremes of both sides. So like
Yeah,
I
and
know
like again,
friends of
they're
me.
not comparable. The extreme left is not comparable to the extreme right.
Okay, so I've seen some super offsets of Antifa that can become very violent.
Are you Antifa?
I am not a fascist, but I'm saying there's
Are
sects
you
of
anti? Are you Antifa?
yes, I'm anti-fascist,
Okay, just making sure.
but I'm just
So,
saying
why does
there's
Trump
sects of them.
consider us domestic? Because he said that Antifa is a terrorist organization. If we're both a part of Antifa, then are we according to Trump? And why would he consider Antifa a terrorist organization if it's just
I think he did.
anti-fascism?
Yeah, I think he did that to mitigate their influence. That's all I think that was about, just so that your average American wouldn't go down that rabbit
Okay,
hole because
I have a question.
again there's
Do
this
you think
side of Antifa
fascists?
that's
Do you think fascists would designate anti-fascists as?
probably not.
No, you think they wouldn't?
I mean, yeah, they might, but probably not.
They have historically.
Oh, really? I did not know that. But yeah, back to my original point. Kamala Harris, right now, we can see the
Kamala.
political climate of America. Kamala, we can see the political climate of America. If our first elected female president were to be birthed into this era, into this generation, which is right now, you see all the hate speech on the right. You see all the hate speech on the left. I don't feel as if outside viewing countries would not capitalize upon that and infiltrate us and take us down. Trump, at least
What
to
is this?
outside
What are you saying?
entities.
What do you mean? You think we're gonna be infiltrated because of Democrats?
No, not Democrats. It just has to do with the fact that society hasn't caught up with like gender ideology.
What?
Specifically,
What
yeah,
gender
yeah,
ideology?
it's true that like a woman and a man, they can compute and do the same exact thing. There's a very ugly side on the right that is not ready to see that America. Not yet, man. It's not time.
So you're saying that the right would have caused a bunch of violence if it is the case that Kamala Harris won?
Yeah, that's why I believe Donald
So
Trump
why
was
is
the
that?
better
So
choice.
the right is more violent. So earlier you said the left is more violent. The right is more violent,
No, I said
and you're
they're both
saying
as violent.
so.
Somebody from the left
So
literally
you're
just
saying so
killed
then
Charlie Kirk. What are you trying to
why
say?
would you want to
That's
put the more
crazy.
violent side in office?
Well, for right now, that would have been a safer choice for America, so
No, it
that it
wouldn't
can
have.
have
No, it
sustainability.
wouldn't have. It would definitely. It's definitely worse off now because of Donald Trump being in office. Americans are not as safe now because Donald Trump is in office. That's the reality.
Okay, so when we say Americans, we mean Americans that are born here in this country, right?
Not just people who are born in the country. I believe in any American citizen.
Okay, define an American citizen.
Citizens of America. Like I'm confused what you're asking for. What do
All
you
right.
want me
Well,
to say? Like
so specifically, I
someone who
was
is in
talking.
the United States who is granted citizenship.
Okay. All right. Well, I agree with that then. But I'm for American citizens. I agree with that definition. For American citizens, Donald Trump definitely was the individual to bring a little bit more control and stability to America. Now, that
We
listen,
have
listen,
less
listen, listen. Wait.
stability. How do you mean
Wait.
more and by control,
Okay,
that's not a
brother.
good thing necessarily. Him limiting freedoms is not a good thing.
Okay, okay, but peep this, Parker. Right? Conversations like this probably wasn't as apparent. Let's say 2 presidencies ago. We've
That's because social media exists to a greater extent.
which I agree, which is true, which is definitely true, and misinformation as well. But I do feel that this ugly wave of hate speech and hate in general for Americans is going to be met with a counter that's beautiful and that both sides can actually see eye to eye. I do feel like we're in the worst of this right now.
Because of
However,
Trump. Because of Trump. Trump has made this country more polarized. He has made this country less likely to unify. Right? That is because of Donald Trump and because of the hate that he advocates for, because of the the violent rioters that he pardoned, because of the people he called patriots who were police officers on January 6th, because of him inciting a violent insurrection, because of him being held civilly liable, because of his hateful rhetoric towards trans people, immigrants, right? And anyone that doesn't meet the criteria of a straight white cis man in America who's rich, literally. He's gone after literally everyone outside of that connotation.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna say that we have to look back at what the Democrats were doing previously to Donald Trump. Right. So when we look at let's just say the LGBTQ movement, right? That's a movement to be proud of that our generation has been at the forefront of and has pushed significantly. However, I do feel like society has gone a little bit off the rails with in terms of what you can identify as, and I feel like that lessened the
What do you
legitimacy
mean?
of. I feel like that lessened the legitimacy of that movement because you have people
Can
dressing.
you be
You have people
specific?
who, yes, I can. You have people who, no matter what you try to tell them, they identify as a cat or they identify as a dog.
No, that doesn't exist, bro. That is not a
Okay,
thing.
yes, it does. Yes, it does.
No,
There are
and
people who,
also that those are distinct. The gender is used in a different connotation than our terms of what a dog and a cat is. A dog and a cat, right, is not going to be
exactly. I'm
social
saying
in connotation
exactly.
and based upon your social
Yes.
commitments, whereas gender is. Similarly, names are based upon social commitments towards or a certain like literally name, sort of a certain pronunciation of a particular term that we associate with our identity. That's exactly what we see in the context of gender. So we're not referring to gender in the biological sense. We're referring to gender in the social sense.
Okay. Right. So all right. I'll give you that one. Okay. What about the average American man who was supporting the LGBTQ movement, but then like towards, I'd say, really Biden's turn, began to feel like he couldn't find himself within the party. He wasn't being addressed. His political views wasn't being talked upon. He wasn't an issue. It truly was LGBTQ, and it previously was the Black Lives Matter movement, which was complete and utter bullshit.
Neither of them were bullshit. Now, again, those were specifically like impacting the policies that we're specifically advocating for, and you understand that there were prescriptions from the Democratic Party that are significantly better in terms of, all of what all those movements are advocating for, right? Comparative to Donald Trump. Donald Trump has actively, turned us the other way.
I'd say that those people opened the door for him to end up slamming the door.
That's just not true.
Who
That's
was the
just
leader
not
of the
true.
Black Lives Matter? Wait, who was the leader of the Black Lives Matter movement?
I don't think there's just like one person that I
Dude,
would consider the
exactly,
leader.
exactly. That that whole movement had no agenda. It had no end goal.
Wait. Saying that there's no one specific leader does not mean that there's no agenda. That's a ridiculous statement.
It's hard for people to follow that. It's very hard for people to follow something if there's
Wait,
no agenda, no
I
goal.
wait. Okay,
Because then I
wait,
can park it. Then
wait. There is like goals that people have, particularly within movements. That does not mean that there has to be a particular one specific leader.
right, and I can prioritize my own hateful version of your movement, and I can corrupt your movement. That's the issue that ended up happening with
I'm.
Black Lives Matter
So
movement.
can you be specific with what you're referencing? Because I don't think you're being like
Well,
addressing
for
anything like
COVID, for
relating to
COVID,
like the policies of each candidate or why it ended up that way.
I'm just trying to set the scene for why the political climate is the way it is and why
It's
Trump
it's
needed to.
because of Trump. Trump has caused the political climate to be this way.
We're both lying. We're both lying if we're not saying that the LGBTQ movement was a powerful movement and Black Lives Matter movement as well was a powerful movement.
They are absolutely powerful movements, but they are not the reason why Donald Trump is in the position he is. That's ridiculous to say.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Because the
There's no good
majority
evidence
of
of that.
okay, so why are there so many ignorant Americans who are just voting for the right?
Because
Just because no, because they felt left out. They weren't being
wait, wait,
addressed
wait,
anymore.
wait. I'm sorry. You say ignorant Americans. Why are there so many ignorant Americans? Because we haven't had a culture specifically to inspire people to engage with politics to a degree in which is necessary to uphold our fundamental core ideological values in terms of democracy, rule of law, our court system, our constitution. Donald Trump has actively undermined every single one of those things. So the reason why he's been able to get away with that is because people are uneducated, because he utilizes things like specifically the fact that people just blame the Biden-Harris administration for inflation, specifically to inspire the idea that he has better economic plans when he has literally worse economic plans and is advocating for inflation, right? Donald Trump literally utilizes people's bigotry and hate targeted towards trans people and immigrants, literally to try and win the election as well. That's specifically what Donald Trump was trying to utilize. So that's what Donald Trump is focused on. I'm saying that's not what's best for the country. There's no reason to believe that's best for the country. And I would actively acknowledge that it's polarizing the country to a greater extent, disunifying the country, and making this country a worse place overall. We would be a better country. If Donald Trump never went into political office in the very first place, we would live in a better country today.
I don't know. I felt like these situations and these discussions were eventually going to come to fruition.
These discussions would exist. It might not be, every single person who's currently involved in it. History would happen differently. But the reality of the matter is these types of platforms would exist. And also, free speech has been attacked to a significantly greater extent given Donald Trump being in political office comparative to what it would be given that he was not in political office. So you have to acknowledge that if you care about things like free speech, if you care about, people engaging with each other, a less polarized country, a country that's more unified, then you are against Donald Trump. You are anti-Trump because there is no unification with Donald Trump, right? He is literally the bane of polarization, of disunification.
I mean, he does make things a lot harder, but he's also saying a lot of rhetoric that people are afraid to say, and he's also he's showing you a rhetoric from an entire generation that was okay to say for a long time.
And that's a bad thing, right? We don't want those views to be prevalent. He's promoting those views to exist. He's promoting those views to exist to a greater extent when he's in the position of political office. So if you agree that those things are bad, then you shouldn't support him.
Right, but those are views of people who actually exist in America.
And we want those views to be less prevalent.
Okay, but why?
Because they're bad.
It's kind of ignorant to just say that they're bad.
I already told you. I gave you the prescriptions of why they're bad. They lead to less unification of our country, more polarization. They are hateful and bigoted ideologies, right? Like, I can give you examples as to why they're bad.
Okay. Add me back in because I got to do some research on Kamala Harris.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thank you.